To each and every one of us. It's always good that we can gather together, as I've always said, to bridge gaps. It is very necessary that we have information that will be absolute truth. And absolute truth among us is very important. We cannot allow ourselves to be dragged into things that may have truth. But truth to what and to who? But we want truth that relates to us and to us alone, so that we can acquire balance. It's very important. I mean, there are many truths, but the truth that pertains to us. And this will give us our agenda by which we will move through the earth for the time that is necessary. And therefore, we will understand the things that is necessary for our survival. Even in us being put in a situation that will cause even death, we will not die the same as those that will not have a total understanding of why we're dying. And when we look in America, we know that we die at the hands of those that hate us, those that do not care about our welfare. And we relate to this because we don't see straight across the board anybody else dying for the mishaps of police brutality, or we know that when there's a level of brutality on all levels, but when you talk about the brutality that we see in our community that is so apparent, then it should allow us to understand and have a mental concept that those that rule over us hate us. Because the thing about it is that when you respect the people and you respect them within your borders, then you deal with them accordingly. Why? Because that service that you will give them, that would be service that would be disruptive or distasteful to them, you will have to answer to. Therefore, those that feel that they have an open hand to afflict us anyway, and therefore they do it. So we have to realize what causes this and what can we do about it. We can't just look for something that will tell us the guy's a bad guy. We have to look for something to tell us the guy's a bad guy, and here's how you straighten it out. One of the ways we can straighten it out is that our young boys and girls must have a better conduct, that as they move through the system, that it doesn't attract attention that will cause them to become ill-favored and therefore bring about situations that can cause their death. We know that if a man is sitting in a car and he's not doing anything, and there are those that pull up on him and start shooting, that wasn't by any misconduct on their part. They were just sitting there. And this strikes up, well, why would anybody do such a thing unless they have a very distastefulness for their presence, and they have no regard for them as people or as a person or within that community. So the thing is that we have to rehearse and search why these things occur to us continuously. America has not been kind to us. You understand? It's not that we haven't been kind to ourselves. It's not that people say, well, you don't stick together. That's not the point. The point is that we receive inferior service. And therefore, when you will hear on the news that the very government that's supposed to protect you have instituted or prescribed certain means that they will actually put drugs in your community, that has nothing to do with us not getting along with each other. It has to do with outside occurrences that has influenced a negative action within our community. I mean, yes, we sell drugs, but we ain't never went and got it. You understand? Somebody's dumping it in the community, and therefore those that are weakest in the community, because the community as a whole is not weak because everybody's not taking drugs. So where are these people that are the weakest of us getting so much money to buy drugs? Because if you're in an impoverished community, then you cannot sell them drugs because ain't nobody got no money. So the thing is that evidently those that come in your community to exploit you sees that you have a certain amount of capital, and they say, well, these black people got so much capital and we go down there and we open up stores. In other words, you have something we want. I would be foolish not to buy from you, but I can be more selective. And since there's 10 or 4 stores that sell this, I can put the other 2 or the 3 out of business, and you will be the only one that's in business because why I shop with you. You understand? Pathmark is only on the corner because we go in. Stop going in and it will close. So you have alternatives. You have alternatives by having people deal with you, by changing your conduct and understanding who you are and putting in place what will cause you to have a better and serene life that would be appropriate to you as a group of people. But we have to do it collectively, because the thing about it is that we as a community, as a village, what do we have in common that we will have one thought to do one thing? See, we have to have one thought to do one thing. And therefore, we who say we're Israelites, we constantly, through the prophecy, through the Torah, from Genesis to Deuteronomy, we collect information to see that is relative, that the Torah is relative to our survival. It teaches us proper conduct. Once you have proper conduct with Yahweh God, you have proper conduct with anybody. Because you know that, because it instills within you the level of consciousness of fear towards your God, of authority, that you have respect for other authority. The Torah is a book that comes from authority, that tells you what is acceptable. So if you understand the Torah, which the actions in it makes you acceptable to your God, then when you walk through the world, you're acceptable to the world, because you have a code of conduct, a code of ethics. You have an agenda, and that agenda is very present or visible in how you move through the earth. And when we see other groups in America, we know that in this setting they move a certain way, but in their own setting they might not move the same way, but that's their setting. So I'm saying to you is that we as Israelites, and we are the children of Israel, there's no question to that. If you've been in Israel at least 5 years, at least 5, you should have researched it that much to absolutely know who you are. And therefore, there's no excuse. You understand? It takes about that time. And you understand, about 5 years of constantly research. Even though you may have a teacher, you must take, and those that teach Torah, that teaches Torah, you look up, and they are called rabbis, because Moreh is teacher. A rabbi is one that teaches Torah, one that learns in the Torah the things and studies the Torah and comes back and therefore instruct those the proper way by which it would be acceptable to Yahweh God. So the thing is that we have to learn these things. And therefore, as we learn these things and we become more outward, the world is surprised when they see you, because they don't see that many people like you. So don't be surprised when they come up to you, even though you are, because you've never experienced their physical presence so close, asking you questions. You know, who are you? You know, they don't ask all the other blacks that. Why? Because they don't have certain things that denote that they're different. You got certain cultures that have certain things. They either wrap their hair one way, or their hair's down another way, or they have certain colors, and therefore they take, and their presence among you stand out because of what is in their culture that they wear, that they put on them. And their community, when you go in their community, their culture is seen in their community, in their children, in their stores and stuff like that. So we have to realize this, that this is what we move towards. That's why we getting ready to keep Pesach, Passover. That's your culture. You should look forward to doing it. It belongs to you. My brothers and sisters that have come in here as slaves, you got those that was enslaved in the islands, they'll tell you, they're not black. And your suffering has been on an individual basis. Before anyone can embrace you, you must embrace yourself. You can't look for anybody to embrace you until you have certain substance concerning yourself, that people will see and understand that not only are you different, you have something in place. And one thing in every household there is not too many households that can't get a Bible or don't have a Bible. So that's your heritage, your culture, the things that Yahweh God, the Bible, which they call a Bible, that they have prescribed that name for it, but it is actually the Torah, the prophecy, and the writings, and the history. And therefore, this Tanakh that has been given to us, that is a book, that are different books, it correlates too, because it's about the same subject, about the same people, telling how they dismantled themselves from righteousness to wickedness, and how they can come back together and join themselves from wickedness to righteousness by keeping the commandments. So we'll have this prayer and we will commence, because it's very important that we serve Yahweh God. Yahweh God, we thank you and pray, and we ask you for your guidance and your blessing. May the Spirit of our God be with us. Shama'a, Shallah, Yahweh, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh, Achada, Yatisra, Samawaka, Yatisra, Shalawama, Kaya, Ata, Maka, Ata, Shawa, Mayahawa, Ataya, Atta, Kaya, Yahweh, Tiswara, Walayama. You gotta love Yahweh. You gotta love Allah. Kaya, La'a, Hasha, Bayakaba, Wala'a, Wasama, Bayashara, Allah, La'a, Ya'anaha, Latistayakwa. Kaya, Shamasha, Magana, Yahweh, Alayama, Khanaha, Malaka, Yahweh, Sabayaba, Bayura. May Yahweh bless us and keep us. May the Spirit of our God be ever with us. May we not deviate therefrom. L'Shabbata, Atniga, L'Quadwasha, Yahweh, Makabada. Berwaka, Alahayama, Ashura, La'a, Yesayura, Paladaya, Wakasadawa, Mataya. Allah, Alahayama, Allah, Alahayama, Allah, Alahayama, Allah, Alahayama, Allah, May Yahweh continue to bless us and keep us. May the Spirit of our God, may His blessing be upon us. May His Spirit of obedience, that we may walk and do the things that please Him, for He is our eternal strength. And we thank Him and we humble ourselves, and we love Him with all our mind, body, and might. Amen.
Amen.
So as we talk of these things, we come back and we go into a book of Micah. Micah chapter 2 verse 2. Micah chapter 2 verse 2.
Chapter 2 verse 2.
Yes.
And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage.
A man they oppress. They take these things by violence. It says, and they covered the fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. And let's read the definition of what a heritage is. So we will understand that this has been that we have been oppressed. What's the definition of an inheritance?
Property that is or can be inherited. Any condition or culture which is allocated or handed down to one as by ancestors.
Okay, so this is a definition that is read concerning, and it says, which is allotted or handed down to one as by ancestors, and therefore any condition or culture which is allotted or handed down to one as by ancestors. So we see that our culture has been so taken from us, so violated, that what can we say in this country that when you take a man and take him away from his ancestry heritage that is passed down, even those things that have come down to us in the shortest period of America's growth, they have not allowed it to be put before us and say, this is what you gave. We are a group in this country, and we have to understand, we are a group, and we're the only group in this country that came by such hostility from a group that wanted something from us. Don't let nobody rob that from you. You're not like anybody else. You're not treated like anybody else. And therefore, they say, well, we got to constantly struggle for what is right. You understand? Well, then you should have never brought the people here by force, by anger. There's nothing that they did not do to you that did not please their anger towards you. Very few plantation owners treated you with dignity and respect. And therefore, they never allowed you to keep your language. They never allowed you to keep your families together. They split you. They did, when you read the Willie Lynch letters, it was an orchestrated plan to infuse within you such negativity on you about you as a people, as a person, and how they would set one against another. It ain't no more than they have this as much prejudice among themselves. But what causes them to come together is what we must understand, that our heritage is our focal point to what should cause us to have become one-minded and with one purpose. And that purpose is, we came here by force. We have not been liked in this country. Every negative thing is thrown at you. So what should be your alternative, if anyone? You went into politics. That's a door that when you get in, they close it. You ain't getting out. It's difficult. They make you believe that dealing with politics is going to mean your life. None of them is going to do anything for you that's that significant, because they never did anything when they promised you 40 acres and a mule so that you might have, because you were farmers, you did everything on the farm. You were a cultural people because you worked and made his life easy. And when they sold you by your ability to do certain crafts. And therefore, you was a great commodity for their leisure. And they were very They were people. And they took advantage of you physically. They murdered you when they wanted to. They had sex with you when they wanted to. And therefore, they had all spectrum of pleasure, because they had this much pleasure in murdering you. You understand? So we have to realize what America means to us is what America has done to us. And therefore, she could never be kind to us because she doesn't know what kindness is, not towards American black. And she opens up her educational system and says, well, you know, you don't want to be educated. Educate these people of who they are and see if there won't be a change in them. And you got to understand, there are things we must do for ourselves, but it's things that those that put us here must do for us. That's why I say those that scattered Israel will gather you. You have to read the story to understand who are you. This is talking about a people you get ready to have a holiday that doesn't make no sense to the people that's serving it. And they calling themselves who they're not. You have to, you see, what you do wrong is that you sidestep and says, oh, no, it ain't all right. You understand what I'm saying? And I'll tell them right away, you're not a Jew. That's right, they don't give up nothing. They ain't giving up nothing to you. Not one thing that they gonna give to you because they want it for themselves. It would be all right. But there's too many things that say that ain't true. I don't care nothing about the Middle East. As long as it ain't in Europe, they can never prove wherever the Middle East might be that they came from there. I don't care. As long as it ain't in Europe, I can prove to them that it doesn't apply to them. Because they came from Europe to Jerusalem and changed it to Israel. And therefore, ain't nobody going to sleep now. We do not have to sit at the table with them. We do not have to wait for their approval of who we are. Once you know who you are, you move accordingly. Because who are you, black man, in America that has a description that Yahweh God tells you that you will be sold, that you will go into captivity? Look up the word captivity. It describes you to the T, because that you are a captive slave in America. Look up those two words. It doesn't fit them. The Torah tells you exactly who you are. And it tells you that you will remember your God in a far distant land. And this is what we're doing. I'm not looking for them to be nice to me. I don't care if they don't respect me, because I know who I am. And therefore, I don't need no approval from them, because when I looked for it, they never gave it to me. So I don't have to deal with them. You understand what I'm saying? I can let their hand go and think the least. That's up to them. It would be better that they be who they are, because I'm going to be who I am. And this is the time to step forward, if any time in America. Because I'm telling you, they're going to treat you just like the nigger that they feel that they have rehearsed in their verbal, in their mind. They talk and they hate us. And there's nothing that we have for them other than love. And because even Yahweh God said, he says, I hate Esau, but I love Jacob. And to this, what we want to do is see that Yahweh God, and let's start in the book of Leviticus, because we know that we are the children of Israel. What is it that we have that is so precious to our God? Yahweh God says something to us. Let's go Leviticus chapter 25. Leviticus chapter 25 opens up chapter 25 verse 55. And it says,
For unto me the children of Israel are servants. They are my servants, whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. I am the Elohim Yahweh.
so we are the servants of our God. And he says, for unto me, my son Israel, are servants. They are my servants whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. So you have to have been brought forth out of the land of Egypt. If we stay in that same chapter and go to verse 35, verse 35, it says, and if thy brother will wax poor and fallen in decay with thee, then thou shalt relieve him, yea, though he be a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with thee. Take thou no usury of him, or increase, but fear Elohim, that thy brother may live with thee. Thou shalt not give him thy money upon usury, nor lend him thy victuals for increase. I am Yahweh your God, which brought you forth out of the land of Egypt, to give you the land of Canaan, and to be your God. And if thy brother that dwell by thee be wax poor, and be sold unto thee, thou shalt not compel him to serve as a bond servant, but as a hired servant, and as a sojourner. He shall be with thee. He shall serve thee unto the year of Jubilee. And then shall he depart from thee, both he and his children with him, and shall return unto his own family, and unto the possession of his father shall he return. For they are my servants which I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. They shall not be sold as bondmen. Thou shalt not rule over them with rigor, but shall fear thy Elohim. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaid, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathens that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaids. See, so the heathen nations that were around us, we used them for bondage. See, you got to read this book to understand. And therefore, we had strict codes of discipline to ourselves. And therefore, we was told how to do things. And Yahweh, when you read this book, you read of a compassionate, intelligent God that has done things in such a way that it means everybody good, even the heathens that you would give work to, that would nourish them. You have become a viable product of the perpetual creation of your God. It's a beautiful work when you pray for the understanding. Yahweh God, when he came to Abraham, and he told him, he said, I will make thee a great nation, and in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. There is no blessing except it comes through the established family of the children of Israel. Therefore, Isaiah 43, and what we're talking about, Yahweh God has made us who are Israelites, we are his servants. We are his servants. And therefore, being his servants, Isaiah 43 verse 10 says,
Yea, ye are my witnesses, saith Yahweh, and my servant, whom I have chosen, that ye may know and believe me, and understand that I am he. Before me there was no God formed, neither shall there be after me.
That's right. He told Israel, he said, you are my witness. He said, ye are my witness. And he said to him, and my servant whom I have chosen. See, he chose Israel. Israel didn't choose him. We are the choice by which Yahweh God, we are his servant. And when you call the servant up, what you do a terrible thing to the master that he must see. The nations, when they brought us into slavery, they stopped us from serving Yahweh God. Yahweh God ain't being served. Ain't nobody can serve him but us, because we are his servant. And therefore, if we go to